guys that came over from Recovery Addict. Appreciate that redirect from him. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your night. I am out of here. See you on the next one.
Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
This is the next search on February 28, 2020, 7:44 p.m. How, does the FBI find people? And people is misspelled P-E-O-O-P-L-E. Did the defendant find out how the FBI finds people in this case? Oh, she found out.
Whoops. There we go. A little more music. Don't stop the music yet. Where are we? Here we go. I just switched to a camera that was turned off. We are professionals. It'll be on in just a second. In theory. All right. Welcome. We'll get the desk cam back here. There we are. There we go. GoPro beta firmware participation terms apply. There we go. Here we are. Oh my goodness! It has been an incredible day. I want to say first and foremost a huge shout out to Peter Tragos over at The Lawyer You Know. Appreciate his coverage of this live stream, the latest events in the Maya trial. I did only get to hear part of it. I only got to hear part of it, the beginning and the end. But as always, Peter has an incredible take, a lot of experience, and is grateful for him for making that happen. All right, quick. Let me get my chat working because it's not apparently. As soon as I left, of course, we had a juror question. So we're going to try to cover that here in just a second. Let me get my chat up here. Okay, we need live. Oh, wow, holy cow, things are happening really fast. Just 1 second, let me get caught up here. Let's bring that on. I don't even know who was first in chat. You guys are going to have to own up to that if that was you. You're guilty. The guilty party needs to fess up and be sentenced to the crime that they are duly responsible for. They committed it. Briella Marie, welcome. Thank you very much. Love to have you as a new member. Cachette gifted 5 memberships just right now. Angie Childress, welcome. Good to have you. Continued membership. And it looks like Briella Marie came through twice. I think we got you. Oh, we got you as first to the gallery, and then she upgraded to an attorney. Briella, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you. Here I am. There I am. I'm on screen. I'm not gone. I promise. Okay, so we had Peter covered the question. I think it was very telling. I didn't get to hear him cover the question, but I think it was very telling. I was actually first I went to the post office, and then I went and voted. And I thought it was very telling that the jurors had questions about wanting to see the facts and figures about the damage numbers regarding Maya's lost wages or lost income potential. Because how do you get to that point? There are some preliminary questions that need to be answered first to get to that point. So that was interesting. As always, we had another technical glitch. You have to understand, this courthouse is fairly new. The judge, who is amazing, Judge Carroll's amazing. He sits on if I remember correctly, he sits on a board committee. I think he may even chair the committee where they talk about technology in the courtroom and how best to implement it and move forward. And basically, it's cutting edge courtroom. So it's a new facility. They've got new equipment. We love that the judge does that. It makes it amazing. That's why we've got the Zoom feeds. That's why we've got the cameras and the different angles and great audio, which was for the most part pretty wonderful. Anyway, Ash Axiom, welcome to the gallery. Look at that yellow courthouse. Thank you very much. Love that. Love that. At least 6 months of support there. Beth as well just gifted a membership. Let's see. The winner of the Internet Afternoon was Honey 2800. Honey 2800. This is a first offense for you. Congratulations on being first in chat. You are now responsible for maintaining everything IP related worldwide. It's a little thing we can do, and only we can do. Who else would have the audacity to think they could give away the internet? But that's what we do here. Thank you, Honey 2800. Congratulations on being first. All right. We are. This is what we have going on tonight in the Maya trial. The jury's deliberating. If I can pull up. My stopwatch is awful, you guys. This is embarrassing. I hate to even show you what the stopwatch looks like, but just 1 second here. Let's put this one right there, and there we go. Okay, here it goes. Look, this is what it looks like. First of all, it cuts it off on my screen. I mean, even on my full screen display, it looks like that. So it counts in minutes. It doesn't go to hours. So we're at 203 minutes. And for all of us that have problems with the metric system, you think we could figure out how many minutes are in an hour. At 240, I know we've got 4 hours of deliberations. Where we're at right now is about 3 hours and 24 minutes of deliberation, roughly with the jury. We're going to keep that turned on there, as well as this right there for the deliberation time. We are keeping an eye on the courtroom in case there are any more questions. Jules did call me while I was at the post office, and she was in a hurry. She's like, "Jury's coming in. They got a question. Got to go by." And that was about how quick we got it. But there's our deliberation time clock. We're approaching when it's 2:10. We're going to be at 3 hours and 30 minutes. That's how it works. All right. The big thing that's happening actually is in half an hour. In half an hour, the judge has basically said, if you don't hear from me between now and then, please come back to the courtroom because we're going to decide how we're going to move forward. The jury's going to ask some questions. Let's see. We've got somebody calling in. Let's see if they know anything about this.
Christine?
Hey, Christine. This is R.A. How are you doing?
Hey, Scott. How are you?
I'm doing just fabulous. How are you doing this evening?
I'm great. Thanks for taking my call. I just want to say first and foremost, thank you to you and Jules for everything that you do, and I can speak on behalf of everybody in your chat right now.
Oh wow, that's a big responsibility.
No, we really all appreciate it. But I do have one question. Mm-hmm. I won't keep you on the phone long. I'm calling from Boston.
Okay.
And we do things a lot different than we do in Florida. So when the jury goes in to deliberate and they have all those 47 lines, do they need to come up with a monetary value as well when they come out? Or do they just need to come out and say, yes, no, no, yes, yes, no?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think Peter would probably be a better one to answer that. First of all, because every state does things a little bit differently. It's generally the same all over the U.S., but every state's a little bit differently. For instance, in this case, the jury has to be unanimous in Florida. That's the rule. 6 jurors deliberating, they all have to be unanimous. I think that on the direct damages, they have to come up with them right now. I don't think they do punitive in this session. I think that would be separate. So punitive damages, to my understanding, would be handled in a different group. But that's my understanding right now. I would defer to the lawyers on that one for sure, though.
Okay, and then another question. I might have to talk to Rob or Peter. Mm-hmm. If the plaintiffs come back and there are punitive damages or whatever damages there are, do they have to pay the Kowalskis right away, or does that get tied up with appeals?
You can bet it's going to be tied up. Unfortunately, this is not. No one's walking out of the court at verdict day with a check. That's not going to be how it happens. And I don't know if there will be a partial payment at some point, or if the judge, if that directs that, and then they, and then they move on from there. I don't know if certain fees get paid or not. This is gonna be a lot of litigation. This is like the opening salvo in the story. There's a lot still tied up in this. We know it's going to be appealed. If it's going to be appealed, and say for instance under appeal, the court says, yeah, they did this wrong, it needs to be redone. Suddenly that verdict is vacated, and so you can't have already made a payment and try to claw back the money. So you can imagine they're going to hold on to the money until they know they owe it, or the judge orders it.
Okay, well, thank you so much.
Not a problem.
I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Great questions.
And I'll be tuning in.
All right, we'll see
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
A little bit of Boston in that one, which is awesome. Yes, thank you to everyone who's here from the lawyer, from Peter down in Florida. One of the great, not just great hair. I say he has great hair, and he called me out on that. But one of the great lawyers, Legal Minds on YouTube. I honestly think that we as a community are blessed with some incredible, gifted people who are good at presenting and good at analyzing and breaking things down in a very complex legal world where terminology is very different from what our day-to-day vernacular is, and they're able to bring things on a level where we can understand it. And Peter's one of those, Rob's one of those, Kurt on civil law. We've got a ton. You've got Melanie Little. We've got Ian is fantastic. Hogue. There's a whole bunch of people in LawTube that are just amazing. I can't say enough about them. And the fact that we get to watch them, like Emily D. Baker, very different style than mine, right? But she is so smart, and she's so witty, and she's so much fun. I love watching that as well. Peter said if they award a huge verdict, they could settle for a much smaller number. That's going to be interesting to see what they do. The judge also, before this began, like today, there was a little discussion back and forth where defense basically said, hey, we just took a peek at the notes that defense is going to use for a closing. We just took a little glance at it, and these numbers are what they say, something of orders of magnitude greater than what they should be, right? Big. You used a bigger exponent. This is way too big. And the judge said, just know I've got to follow the law, and I'm not afraid to do that. So don't be asking for something outside of what the law will allow. But so it's gonna be awesome. Let's see. So tonight we're expecting in about half an hour the judge to come back in and possibly call the jury in and just say, hey, what do you want to do? Are we going to stay here all night? Do you guys think we're close? I mean, he's going to be limited on what he can say. He can't force them to like hurry up your deliberations or anything. But he does say that you're in control now. You're the captain of the ship, and I sort of have to sort of follow your guidance on this. So we're going to find out about 6 o'clock if there's an update of some sort where, we might have an idea at least where we stand. If the jury says, hey, we made some good progress, we're going to go home, we'll see you in the morning, that's good to know, so we don't just sit out here all night. Kim Halper, welcome to the jury. Thank you very much, Kim. Look at that. Appreciate that continued support. Okay. Lawyer had 9,000 people. I think some long crime chatters got in there. I tell you, he draws a wide audience because he's very good at what he does. CRPS and me, welcome to the gallery. Your name gives you away a little bit about what you might have experienced in. But wonderful to have you here, CRPS and me. Appreciate you joining us. Does the burner use WhatsApp in order for UK people to call? Text for free also. Welsh law student, I use WhatsApp for something unrelated to my YouTube channel, and I do use that a lot, and it's tied to my phone. I need to figure out how to get WhatsApp working so that UK people don't have to pay a fee. I feel terrible that anyone overseas would have to pay a fee to even leave me a message. I don't think that's right. If I can figure out a way to get that removed, I will do that. Briella just gifted 5 memberships. Wow. Briella, thank you so much. Good to have you here with us. All right. Yes, we've said a lot of different channels on here. There are a ton of great lawyers, and I would say none of them will say what I'm saying is true. They're not going to say, yeah, listen to Scott, he knows what he's talking about. Okay, the lawyers are much smarter than me in a lot of these things. I have a love for the law, but I have not studied it, so I don't pretend to be a lawyer or have that experience, and I would defer to them. In that same way, some of them might cover this and have viewpoints that are very different than my own. So just me saying, hey, go check out this lawyer, go check out this YouTube channel. I think you'll learn a lot from it. It doesn't mean that's what I agree with. I might, at the end of the day, I might have a different opinion. But the best thing about the internet is here we are. We can be friends and still agree to disagree at the end of the day. So thank you. So if you find one of the lawyers on the channels that I refer you to, and you say, hey, they're not my style, I don't like how this happens or that happens, that's all right. That's all right. You don't need to complain about them. Please don't. As a matter of fact, I would encourage you not to. Just choose to watch somewhere else. As far as when we send you to another channel, and that would be great. So anyway, we can all be friends. There's room enough on the internet for everybody. All right, Mike, Law Talk with Mike. Patty, Law Talk with Mike is my comic relief resort. I head to Law Talk with Mike. I love that he does some court hopping and jumps around to just some Squishy Gardner. All those fun channels. They're a lot of fun. OG Sean White says, "Yeah, baby, 2 months. Yeah, I heard the yeah, baby." And I can't do the Austin Powers voice. Tag says, "I'm still here, and the front seats are very crowded." Just saying. Tag 10 months. Thank you very much. One of our original our OGs. Did we miss a question? Diane, we just had the one question, and Peter covered that in his live. The question came back from the jury, basically saying, we're trying to access the documents that have Maya's projected lost income, lost wages, something of that. And can you please tell us how to find all this? Judge said stuff, but I think they used a 4-letter S word right there. It says, help us so we can find this stuff. And basically they were given a jump drive, and they have a computer, but the computer doesn't have the office suite on it. And so the tech guy converted everything on the jump drive to HTML, which is a web language, so it can be viewed in like a web browser, like Explorer or Safari or Firefox or Google Chrome or Bing or whatever your browser is. I don't think it was designed to be viewed like that. So it might not be as easy to navigate there. It might end up being like a 50,000 page long document you're scrolling through. So we'll see. They're trying to fix that. They're trying to get them a new computer that has access, so they can actually access the documents and find the things they're looking for. That will definitely speed up their deliberations for sure. But the other half of the question was, let's see. Now I've had a brain cramp. They asked about the document, and then somebody helped me out here while my brain goes on vacation for a few minutes. After 9 weeks in the courthouse, the jury has no patience for tech issues. You'd think that they'd have it figured out, but the judge at least is very responsive, and I think the jury appreciates that. The judge has been really, really considerate of the jury's time this whole time, so I think they're not mad. Netscape, that's going way back. It's going way back. Are we counting minutes? Is there another contest? No, we were not doing a contest on the deliberation time. We tend to only have one fun contest per trial, and we do that just as a sort of a moment of levity in what typically is a heavy trial, because most of the trials, whether it's a murder trial or in this case a civil trial where you've got some very, very heavy emotional topics that are dealt with, we try to have a little bit of levity in there. We just had the one thing, and we did have 2 winners, by the way. 2 winners. That was awesome. Okay, I still have the squirrel moment. I can't remember. Oh yeah, teach me how to find stuff. The question was, teach me how to find stuff. Let's see. We've got a lot of people with us watching the trial, says Shiraz, that not because they're interested in the law, but because they're CRPS sufferers. We might want to let folks know it's a bit different. Yes, Shiraz, thank you very much. This trial has sort of brought a couple different communities together. Individuals who deal with hidden pain, right? With chronic pain conditions, have found this trial because it's speaking their language. It's telling their story, and it's a story that they've tried to tell many, many times, but no one understood or heard. And so I can see why we have so many people who say, yes, this is me, I deal with this, or yes, I've got a child or a sibling or a parent that's dealt with this. I can see why we have all those people here, because this trial has really brought that to light. Now, we also have people who are here just for the legal side, just for the fireworks in the courtroom, the chess match that gets played, and the four-dimensional chess, as Rob calls it. Let's see. The calculator comment, I think that was like Mr. Anderson volunteered. Should we give him a calculator? I think that's almost like a jab, right? That's a little rib, just to the defense, saying, "Hey, we're winning. They're going to need a calculator for all the numbers they're calculating back there." Might have been in bad taste. I don't know. I don't know. But they didn't ask for a calculator yet. But maybe he misunderstood the question they were asking, and we'll see. They might come out and ask for a calculator. That could happen. Can you turn on closed captioning for replays, please? I can try, but I can't turn it on when I'm live. If I turn on closed captioning before I go live, it makes a very lengthy delay between me talking and you hearing. And so when we try to have conversations back and forth in chat and ask questions and answer them, it's like being a minute apart. And it's brutal. It's brutal. That's the only reason I don't have them on. I just went to the store and got Nutter Butters for my kids. I don't think the document they asked for was submitted to evidence. Tammy, ooh, that would be interesting. I thought for sure that those findings were, or the reports. I'm pretty sure all those reports where they said, and you're going to have this math, you're going to see how we broke it down, you're going to have this reference chart. I thought they were. Carol O'Neill, if I could do that in a heartbeat, I would do it. I can tell you right now, it's 3 hours and 39 minutes, approaching 3 hours and 40 minutes right now, 15 seconds away. I don't have the ability. This app is dirt cheap. It's a free app that I have on my iPad, and it's not working. The jury could not access the flash drive. That was the second part, and I think they've got that part resolved. They put Office on the computer. It has a calculator. It should, just on the desktop. Golden Hermit, it's mostly just to spite me. The app, it pretends like it will be the perfect app for what I need, and then once it's too late to switch to anything else, it goes, haha, gotcha. That's what happened. But I've got the timer on my watch. We're at 3 hours and 40 minutes right now. Okay, judge was going to tell them to basically look at their notes as that wasn't admitted. Wow. Man. The documents were hearsay, so they're not in evidence. They had to take notes. Whitney put the numbers up during closing. I hope they wrote them down. We know one of them didn't, right? Jules tells us one of them was not taking notes at all. The chart was only demonstrative. They cannot get the actual report. All right. So they're stuck just trying to remember. I hope they get the number of zeros right. Right? Auntie Candy says they wanted the calculation sheet from the lady who determined the cost equals loss. That wasn't evidence. Do you have another trial in mind after this? Dog Lover, on my other channel, on Top Mark Media, I've been following the Colorado versus Woodyard trial, which is the third officer charged in the death of Elijah McClain. That just ended yesterday with a verdict, but I've just been dumping the WebEx from each day from that trial on that channel. That's the only way the court allowed us to use that. To my knowledge, no one else. I mean, there were a ton of people, like everyone from CNN, Law and Crime, a couple local news stations, everyone, we all had the same access. Those are the only cameras allowed in the courtroom, and I don't think anyone else followed it. And it's a big trial. I mean, it's got 5 police officers to be charged, or 5 first responders being charged in a death. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen the trial, but it's over there on the top mark. We're probably not going to cover that one on this one, though. That's why Mr. Whitney had the 200 million in big, huge red font. Yeah, that was like, your total should come up to this or more. That was basically what he was presenting with that number. Plus, Peter said it's a sign of relief if they ask for a calculator. I would like to cover Petito's civil case. I've been to a lot of places that unfortunately that the events of the tragic events in that story unfolded, and so that's sort of near and dear to me. I've also been pulled over in Moab like they were, but we won't go into that story. They have 48 questions to answer. 6, I think isn't it 7 claims? Becca Lynn? Each claim has either subclaims or many questions for the jury to answer under each claim and subclaim. I thought we had 7 remaining claims in there. Let's see if we can check in. Any monies awarded must be either put in a bond or an escrow account pending appeal. Yeah, but they're not going to go to the family right away. They're not going to be able to walk out with a big check. It's not like winning the lottery and getting a big giant check and walking out of court with it. Have you been following the Jared Bradigan murder? His ex just hired Jose Baez. Jose? Mr. Baez to defend her? Wow. I thought he would be done. That's interesting. I have not been following that. We're looking at the ballerina trial. I can tell you that one's coming up. That's an interesting one. Getting married after meeting someone 13 days previously, and then a murder shortly after that. Brian Koberger case in Idaho where he's accused of killing the college students. Darth Raven, that is one we are looking to follow. That's one I'd like to be on scene for. A key ruling in that one, I guess it wasn't a ruling, but a decision by the judge on Friday in the Brian Koberger case was that he was allowing cameras in the courtroom for the time being, that he was not going to eliminate them. And I think that will probably last through the trial. And he said he just was going to exercise more control over who gets the images and what they do with the images. He literally has expressed some concern over how people edit images on the internet, and I don't know. I think that's well outside of his jurisdiction, that he can't prevent people from editing and drawing horns on a picture of whoever they don't like in the picture. But apparently that's what he wants to do. Hope juror number 1 is leader. I don't know who's the leader. It's an interesting pick, based on the question that was written and the fact that it used a 4-letter word in the question to the judge. It was a surprise to me when I heard that. They said he's even getting his death penalty credentials updated for this case. Wow. Do we know what page is relevant to the question they asked? Carrie, as far as that goes, let's see. Negligent medical treatment, battery. It might be the battery. It might be early on. You've got false imprisonment, okay, and you've got battery. And if those two things, because that involved like Kathy Beattie, and remember she had her PTSD type situation Maya did at work, where she saw someone who looked like, I believe it was Kathy Beattie or Sally Smith, I don't remember which one, and it made her stare, lock up, freeze in the situation. If they're still on that could be claim 1 or 2 that they might be looking at those numbers on for that. So that might be still early in the deliberations. because false imprisonment was number 1, battery was number 2, 3 was negligent medical treatment of Maya, 4 was fraudulent billing, 5 is intentional infliction of emotional distress, 6 and 7 were extreme and outrageous behavior. The 6 was that it was the legal cause of Beata taking her own life, and 7 was that it was extreme and outrageous behavior against Maya. I think those are the 7 claims that are left. Julie, I think the time to make offers is over. This is really a verdict and a judgment. I don't know. Well, Peter would know that one better as well, having experience in this area of the law. Ashley says, if you were on scene, how will we watch it live on your channel? I have some amazing equipment. Ashley, thank you. First of all, being on scene, even if I'm on scene, I probably would not be in the courtroom specifically. I would probably be in the media room and having a live connection to the cameras that way, and providing that directly from the courtroom through a live view to YouTube. And then, if depending on how the courtroom's set up and depending on the decorum rules, because every court case has different, especially a large case like this would have expanded media coverage rules and decorum rules for the media to follow. And so depending on those rules and what they allow, I may be able to go live from nearby and have that feed go to me and then to you. So I'm still commenting, but I'm actually there. But I obviously would not be able to do it like that out of the courtroom if I was in the courtroom. Okay, we're waiting. We've got about 8 minutes before the judge says that. Hey, Mrs. Ari, how you doing? We've got about 8 minutes before the judge says that everyone should be back here in the courtroom. Let me see if they've opened up Zoom again.
Can I just mention something more? Said?
Yeah. Here's my wife. Hang on 1 second.
Okay, so apparently the lawyer was saying that they can make an offer even after the verdict. And they can say, here, I would like you to take this smaller amount of money, and then we won't tie it all up in appeals. Now, here's my take on that. I would do that in a heartbeat, because appeals are going to take forever. They really don't need that much money. And I think the reason that they have held out this long is because they really want to open up the options for so many other people to have lawsuits against the hospital. Once the verdict is in, they've accomplished that. I'd take the money and run at that point. But it's their call.
So my question would be, if they do that, does that negate the verdict? Does that say, never mind, cancel everything, and this would be the same as if they took a settlement before trial began? So I don't think they can have it both ways. But let's see. How is Hunter being an attorney in the CPS case not a conflict of interest? He is a attorney for the hospital. Misty, he's an attorney for the hospital, and he represents them in all their legal matters, or in a great number of them. So anytime the hospital is involved in a case, whether it's with a dependency hearing where the hospital is acting and following orders as from the dependency hearing, or whether it's a lawsuit against the hospital for malmed, medical malpractice, med-mal, he would be the attorney. So I don't think it's a conflict of interest that way. It's just his job to be deep in every single thing that happens. That's a great question, though. Thank you, Misty. I'm surprised the alternate jurors were dismissed. What if they needed to replace a deliberating juror for some reason? And that also surprised me a little bit. Here's what I think. I think the judge thinks we're going to have a verdict in the next 24 hours. And the odds of needing another juror to deliberate to replace somebody, say somebody got deathly ill, or heaven forbid had a major medical situation in the deliberation room, and suddenly they're in the hospital. I think in that situation they would recall one of the jurors that has been dismissed, but they can't because he said you can talk to anybody. Basically, if that happens, we're in a mistrial. I don't see another way out of that. If that happens, we're in a mistrial. K-Reb, if there is a large judgment, malpractice insurance may force a settlement. A settlement does not negate their verdict. It happened in Depp v. Heard. Malpractice insurance may force a settlement. They can force the plaintiff to take a settlement? The verdict is the verdict. It stands. The settlement between the parties regarding the payment. The settlement is between the parties regarding payment of settlement. So it still may go that way. That's fascinating. Dr. Jennifer says, "What is happening? What is happening? We are waiting right now for the judge to come out. I think we've got about 5 minutes by my count." Roughly 5 minutes before the judge said, "Everyone be back in the courtroom by 6. If you haven't heard anything by 6, be back here. We're going to discuss what we're doing going forward. Whether we're going to be here, for a couple more hours tonight with the jury deliberating. They might be saying, 'Hey, we just had dinner. We're good for another 3 or 4 hours.' Or they might say, we're spent mentally. We can't go any further. We need to stop. We need to rest. We need to come back. We'll be here at 8 a.m. in the morning." Magical Mary says, regarding alternates, lawyer said the parties could agree to go with 5 jurors on a verdict if they lose one. This is crazy. I mean, I don't doubt that for a second, but I'd never heard that. I've never heard of them saying, "Yeah, we'll go with fewer." Could have agreed to a reduced number beforehand. That if they did, it happened outside the regular court time. This would have been something that was handled before it went to trial. Ernest says, "Hi family, missed you people. I came to see the mustache party." Well, I've got one for right now, but it might go. I realize it's No Shave November, right? And I got myself a jump start so I can brag. But at this point, it really starts to bother me having a goatee, so it might go away. I can't imagine 5 jurors. 5 jurors. Insurance can force the hospital. Plaintiffs may want to settle once they have a judgment, so the money isn't tied up for years in appeal. I can see that. Peaches says they won't settle. This is about the hospital taking responsibility for their actions. This isn't just about money. The money is JHCS's punishment. Yeah, but I think if understanding what you guys have told me now and what Peter told you guys while I was gone, that's Florida law if they lose a juror. It makes sense. Mrs. R.A., what she said makes sense as well. That sorry, I just saw a comment I can't read, but it made me laugh. The family has waited a long time. There have been a lot of expenses incurred. Think of on the defense team. I realize there are some of their great witnesses, some of their expert witnesses basically aren't billing or doing it pro bono, or we'll talk about billing after the fact. Right now they're charged nothing. And the defense team has been paying all their lawyers. They have to, right? But they have not been billing Jack for this all this time. I think it's done on contingency. If they win, they get paid. I think that it would be very hard for them to continue going for a couple more years of appeals before they get paid. And once the verdict comes in, if it comes in their favor, I can see them being willing to take a settlement for a lesser amount. All right. Is the money you receive in court tax exempt, or do they have to pay taxes? That's a great question for a tax lawyer. I think you might want to take that up with an accountant to find out for sure, and it might differ from state to state. If it's damages, if it's something you lost, I don't know. I would think that if you're being made whole, right? So if you were to have your car parked out on the side of the street and somebody comes and sideswipes it and totals your car, your insurance company gives you a check to replace your car. You don't get taxed on the check amount, right? That would be taxed on something you've already paid for in a car. You've already paid for it. You earned the money. You bought the car. You paid taxes on that. Now you're being refunded so you can buy another car and get taxed on that. So I don't think there would be. That's my gut feel. It's taxed. Uncle Sam wants his half. Everybody gets a piece. If it's for lost income, it's taxable. Lost income. Okay, so that's going to be after the fact. This is new money. This isn't like in the car example. This was old money that we'd spent already. This is something we'd already had, and we're just being made whole. I think you're not taxed on that part going forward. Any income going forward, you'd be taxed on. That makes sense. C just says, Scott, you'd be proud of how well behaved the kind the addicts were on the Lawyer You Know raid. That's wonderful. I mean, it's hard to be not be kind on his channel because he's just a nice guy and he smiles at you and you melt. Punitive damages are taxable. The others are not. Thank you, K-Cat. Okay, waiting for any sort of sound out of the courtroom. Let me check a couple other feeds and see if anybody else has something going. Don't expect one on this, but it could be. Nope, nothing there. All right. Damage is not taxed. Punitive is taxed. Plus, there are other lawsuits filed against JH. Yeah. Oop, here's the judge. Judge is coming in.
I need to turn all this stuff back on. So just give me a moment.
Judge is logging into his computer. PASSWORD 123. Yep, that's on.
Unmute.
He unmuted, but he really muted us. Now we're back.
Okay, we're back in case number 2018 CA 5321, Kowalski versus Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital. Court has received a note from the jury. The note reads as follows. At 6:15 p.m., we will be done. TY. Do either side wish to look at the verdict form or at the note?
Hang on. At 6:15 p.m., we will be done. At 6:15 p.m., we will be done. Thank you. I am blown away. This is the verdict. They've been deliberating for 4 hours. For 4 hours.
I know what my view is. I think they're just done for the day. I think so too. I don't think they're gonna go. So
Judge says that's not what I think it is.
I had asked everybody to be back here at 6 o'clock so we could basically figure out how late we were going to go tonight. Obviously, the jury has answered that statement for us. So what I would suggest that we do, unless there's an issue we need to address, is I'll walk off, and then at 6:15 I'll bring the jury in and I'll let them go home. I intend on trying to get them to start as early as they're comfortably able to start, which means I'm going to see if I can have them here and ready to start at 8:15, unless that is some sort of problem for the parties and the lawyers.
You're going to leave it up to them a little bit, though?
Well,
they'll have to be here at 8:15 on HVAC.
Oh, you don't have to be here. I mean, if you want to be here, you can be here. But remember,
I love it here.
Tomorrow is the day that one of the jurors has a.
3 o'clock.
So I can't remember. Is it 3 o'clock that they have to finish?
Right.
So I'm trying to give them as much of a time, and I don't think I can really start much before 8:15. But
yeah, I forgot that, Judge. That's a good call.
I think 8:15 is probably.
What time would you like us here?
4:30.
Sure.
Yeah. 8:14. I don't think there's really anything that we have to do,
right?
Other than just to welcome the jury and then send them on their way.
I just didn't know what your pleasure was.
I think 8:15, unless I get some pushback from the jury. You want to try 8 or 8:15? I think 8:15 is probably better for staff. Yeah. Okay. So I'll be back at 6:15. At 6:15, we'll bring the jury in, and assuming that they don't have a verdict, which I think this note suggests that's the time they're just calling it for the evening, we'll have them initial the envelope, give it to the clerk, and then we'll adjourn for the evening. Okay, I'll be back at 6:15. And I'm just going to leave all the stuff on. I'm not going to turn it off or anything like that.
Okay, so Zoom's going to be up.
I know, but there's a lot of folks that have to come even earlier. And let's just do it.
So Jack, Maya, and Kyle were there. Okay, so yeah, clarification is needed. The note said. The note they handed to the judge, this is not a question. A note was handed to the bailiff to be given to the judge, and the note said, at 6:15 p.m., we will be done. That's what it said. And the judge read it, and defense and the plaintiff read it, and they interpret this as meaning that that's when we're going to be done for the day. We're ready to go home for the day. It could be a verdict. This trial has had. This trial, do you want to poll? Do you want to poll to see which one? The note was vague. It's almost like they're toying with us. It's almost like they're toying with us. I want to see what you guys think. What is the definition of done, right? What does done mean in the jury note? Oops. Okay, here we go. We're gonna ask. There we go. Oh, we've got a call coming in. Let me see if I can take this one. Hi, this is Recovery Addict. Who am I speaking with?
This is Amanda Hagerman.
Amanda, I can barely hear you. Are you there?
Okay, is it better?
I got it. Yep.
Okay. So thinking back to when the judge gave the jury instructions, didn't he tell them that he would need time to get everybody there if they came to, if they were going to be able to get people there immediately?
Yeah, he did.
So if they're saying 15 minutes, that gives 15 minutes to get everybody there if they have a verdict. Because he said he would need that time.
If it is, this will be unbelievable because the judge does not think it's a verdict. Like I would say 0%.
I don't know how, but
0% he thinks they're done. But
it's going to be interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, my stomach dropped when I heard that. But yeah, I just thought about that. Judge said that he would need to have time to get everybody there, so don't expect them to be there right away.
If
they gave them 15, 20 minutes.
If it is a verdict, what would this mean? What would this say to you?
That they were pulled for Maya. I really do. And when they zoomed to her after he announced that, she smiled.
Yeah.
And I think she feels the same way, that they're in her favor. Now, I think they'll vote in her favor, but I do not think they'll get the $200 million.
Okay.
I think they'll settle lesser.
I think that, yes, you're right, that this means the jury is in favor of the plaintiffs on this one. And I think that it would probably even be a clean sweep.
I think it will too.
Because you're going to have all one-sided or all the other. With a verdict this quickly, I just find a hard time seeing that they come up with yes, no on the fraud, yes on the med mal, yes. I just don't think they're all on the same page.
It would be a clean sweep, but I don't think that they'll give them a full 200.
Yeah. And excellent. Thanks.
Time will tell. We've got 5 more minutes. We'll see.
Yep. Thank you so much. We'll see you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Can't really take phone calls right now for the most part because I've got the Zoom going. I need the Zoom to be able to see what's happening, and it's coming in on my phone. So let's see. Unless we get Jules calling, and then we'll take the call for sure. If they got right in there and did a poll right away, and they're all on Team Maya, it's easy from there. Well. I have to read this one. This is my wife. I just can't imagine this jury finishing that debate that quickly. Yeah, there's so many questions. I mean, 48 questions that even just reading them alone, it nearly took the judge an hour to go through. It seems like a lot to be able to finish in 4 hours and also find agreement on every single one of them. Jury troll level is master, says Lady in Gray. We know they have a sense of humor, right? I'm not sure if the 6 that are remaining were the ones that had the sense of humor during court, but there have been several humorous type notes that were exchanged in the course of the regular day-to-day business stuff. No way verdict is in today. Jurors will probably have to have had their introductions and catch up with each other first. This is the first time, Eltafaz, this is the first time the jury has been able to really talk about everything they've been experiencing together for 9 weeks. Everything else, I mean, they might be able to talk about the traffic coming into the courthouse in the morning. They might be able to talk about what they had for lunch and the lunch options, and I'm not even sure if they can talk about the crap jury pay, but there are all these other things, anything related to the case, anything that they've watched, anything the evidence, all the details that are in their notes, the judge, who they like or don't like, or what they've observed from sitting in the jury box during the trial from the plaintiff or from the defense. They can't say a thing to each other, and now their lips are unsealed, and they can now share those things. So I imagine they do have a lot to say, but for them to have a verdict right now, it would mean that they just got in there and got right down to business. E. James says, thinking this might be a verdict. 6:15 is an odd time to end for the day. Christy Stinnett says, when a verdict comes, I'll forget my own name, so I want to say now, thank you for this awesome community. My first YouTube membership and my first super chat. Christy, thank you so much. It's wonderful that we could be here and experience those great firsts for you. Thank you. It would not be the same without you. I appreciate your support. They are an intelligent jury. There's only 6 people. Doesn't take as long to come to an agreement. What time is it in Florida now? It is 6:11, so we have 3 minutes before the jury is going to be back, and we're watching. Looking at the poll, just let me end the poll here for a second so you guys can see what the results are. We're showing almost neck and neck with let's see, I've got an extra pinned message I don't think I need. Thank you for that, Becca. I appreciate that. The poll comes up with the results were sleep time is 51%, with the verdict time 41%. I realize there's a lost percentage in there. That's just a feature of YouTube, but yeah, it's almost half of you are thinking that we're done for tonight. Like we'll be all done. All I know is the judge did not read Claim 7, says Becca. I thought I'm looking at my notes from the other day, Becca. Extreme and outrageous behavior. I thought 6 and 7 were both extreme and outrageous behavior, but 6 had to do with Beata and 7 had to do with Maya. And I think you'd have to find intentional infliction of emotional distress to get to 6 and 7. They're like subparts, something like that. One hour to finally chat, 1 hour to discuss and see where everyone is, hour and a half to do the math, 30 minutes to fill in the form. Christina says, like, yeah, the math adds up for me. Judge is back. I see him on Zoom right now. So let's, he says, we're back. If there's no objection to the clerk's office going in and retrieving the exhibits so that they can be put under lock and key, and then we're going to have that room. Here we go.
There's no objection to the clerk's office going in and retrieving the exhibits so that they can be put under lock and key, even though we're going to have that room sealed.
No objection by plan. No bias.
Okay. Why don't we go ask the jury to seal up the verdict form, have each one put their juror number on the seal, and then come on in.
Yes, sir.
The jury's going to look at the bailiff coming through the doors like, hey, we've got 1 more minute, and we're almost done. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that they'd be done with the verdicts at all. It does not add up that would be the case. Mildred Hornblower says, Jay Hatch held this girl hostage, plain and simple. I'm guessing 80 to 90 million. Is that a total amount for all the both the direct damages and the punitives? Tower Hill Girl says, I don't think this is a verdict. I would expect one tomorrow, but yes, they're on her side, but won't get the entire mill. They were editing verdict forms all the way until the jury was deliberating. Gave them edits to hand in, just to handwrite. The Kowalski family is all present, meaning the three of them that have been present throughout most of this trial. Jack, Maya, and Kyle are all there. I see Jules just off screen in the jury box there. I can see her as well, I think on Zoom. Just waiting for the jury. They may have evidence spread all over the jury deliberation room. There might be stuff all over the table. All that has to be gathered and put away where they can find it again, and then put under lock and key, along with the verdict form, with the way they're going to sign and seal the manila envelope. What's going to happen tomorrow is we're going to come back and begin our day much like we do any other day in court, even though it's going to go straight to jury deliberations. I imagine the judge will probably have a snippet where we'll have a video from the courtroom briefly while he starts and tells the jury, okay, go back to work. There's some cases I've seen the jury just comes in, and once they're all there, they can start working. But either way, that's going to happen about 8:15. I think we'll hear that from the judge here in just a minute. Tomorrow we're going to read some of that 327-page document. Listen to the judge really quickly.
Yeah. Here I am just trying to clean up so I can give Judge Brewer her courtroom back.
No, Mr. Shapiro. No, Ms. Perels. Tower Hill Girl. I saw that the entire $200 million. That makes sense. Bobby, we don't think it's half of us don't think it's a verdict. Half of us think it is.
Well, got another note from the jury.
Here we go.
It says, y'all, we have not been able to locate any of the calculations about future amounts. Witness Kirby was on Zoom, and Whitney mentioned them today, and it was said that we'd have all this at deliberation. Well, if we do have it, we ain't found it in all these files. So, without these witness figures, you'll be lucky if there's enough awarded to pay your gas to drive to court, or we'll be here till next Friday. Here's the verdict form, or the verdict form, the note form if you all want to come up and examine it.
Y'all, what in the world? What in the world is happening? This means they have a verdict and they're working on the numbers.
Okay. What about can we get the transcription of Ms. Kirby overnight and then read her testimony?
Well, I mean, you all have hired a private court reporter, and if you wish to pay for a court reporter to do something, that's between you and the court reporter. That being said, what is actually in evidence on this issue?
So, testimony, I believe, and we moved and I think we marked for identification, but I don't know that we moved in or could move in her report. I tried to get her report in. Usually the economist comes in, but I don't think I was allowed for that to go in.
So the report's not in evidence?
I don't think so. We did move it.
Well, it is what it is at this point. So, what are we saying?
Well, I think the thing to do is let them know that we'll try to get her testimony transcribed overnight and then bring it in
Defense won't go for
tomorrow
this.
morning.
Defense won't
Hopefully
go
our
for
court
this.
reporter can give us an official transcript to be able to read to them, and that'll give them the numbers. Unless somebody wants to agree to let them see the report, which is marked for ID. I tried to get it in. But
you can't defense. There's no way.
What is the defense's position on what to do?
There could be a readback, Your Honor, of the testimony. I'm exceedingly. I haven't looked at that report lately. I'm exceedingly reluctant to agree to have a forensically created report put in evidence. There are several bases upon which we objected to it and upon which the court excluded it. And I'm reluctant to revisit that. I'm frankly kind of surprised with this jury, with the note taking that went on at the tenor of the note, because I would have thought that they jotted most of this down. But I'm very reluctant, I suppose, to say anything other than the jury has heard the evidence and is expected to recall that evidence and trust its collective wisdom, or to read back the testimony.
He
doesn't want that report
jury
going
didn't
back.
actually ask for a readback.
we offer that as an option nonetheless to resolve their apparent dilemma.
Judges.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Anderson is asking if we should offer a readback as a...
That's what I was suggesting.
Okay.
If they both agree, the judge can do this.
Perhaps then, since both sides are okay with me offering a readback, is to tell them all the evidence you have all the exhibits that are in evidence. And if, as it relates to witness Kirby, we can ask the court reporter to see if the court reporter is able to type up the testimony. Now, are we going to identify what part of the testimony, or is the entire testimony going to be read? If they ask for it.
I do not believe was longer than 30 minutes max. I believe we were in and out on that. Mr. Whitney has a different memory. I recall that being exceedingly brief testimony, and I don't think there was much cross at all on it. So I think that if there's an agreement to read it in just as to that specific, fine. If not, reading the whole thing is not going to take that much time. This is not like 2 hours of testimony. This was a pretty basic. She was on Zoom. I wish she had recorded. We could play it back for him.
Was it recorded?
I don't know.
I've got
I
it,
don't know if
Judge.
you can record Zoom on the court proceeding.
We don't do that.
Okay.
Didn't think so.
Judge, if we're going to read it back, I think we read the whole thing back. And my recollection is similar to Mr. Anderson's. I don't recall this being more than 30 to 40 minutes.
Well, my recollection of the case law on readback is as follows, that if the jury's asking for it, then obviously we can do it, and certainly that's not a problem. Obviously, are we opening the door for them to start asking for readbacks on
everything?
Everything, which of course it takes a lot of time, and I can tell them I don't know if we're going to be able to get it for you overnight or not, but I'll say it's going to take some indeterminate amount of time to get it back. But unless the jury's request is specific, I don't want to do anything other than read the entirety of the testimony unless the parties jointly agree to some narrower scope. And maybe if you do get the testimony tonight, you can discuss amongst yourselves what
It's certainly reasonable, and once we get it, I think we would then correspond with the defense and ask them, and if they don't, again, I do not believe that it's a particularly onerous amount of time. So what we need to do is find out about the transcript, which I'm fairly sure we can get done overnight with only a half hour worth of testimony, and then provide it to both of us, talk, and then read it back to them tomorrow. I don't have any objection, since they have only identified this one section out of everything in the trial that they need. I would think under the case law it would be appropriate to at least suggest that, rather than error in an objective fact that should be before them.
Okay, I think we'll go with what I had suggested. I mean, they said they wanted to go until 6:15, so this is probably a good time to stop anyway. I'll still have them come at 8:15 if they are able to do that. I'll give them the option that's a possibility. And maybe I should say, if we're able to do it in the morning, can you tell us specifically what part or parts, or should we just don't give them that option?
I think that we leave that for tomorrow and we see how long the entire thing is. I don't know that we're saving that much time if it's 25 minutes and 10 minutes of it, but I'm open to anything.
Who's going to read? Who's going to read it?
Who's going to read it?
Ms. Lawrence?
Maybe we can get some wigs.
I'm going to get Ms. Lawrence in here.
Yes.
She looks like very economist-like. We can dress her up.
We can share the reading, Judge, and we'll work that.
Perhaps maybe one person from each team. I just don't want to get into a who's reading, and I don't want there to be, if we're going to go down this route, I don't want there to be any, your inflection was different or anything like that.
I'll be happy to read it, Judge. I'll be happy to participate in reading it however they want to do it.
I think both parties agree we have bigger fish to fry than who's wearing the right wig.
Okay.
And heaven knows I need one.
That's what we're doing. Let's go ahead and bring in the jury.
Mr. Altenberg
There.
looks on the top of his head. Pot meat kettle, right? Laura Bronson, thank you for the huge super chat tonight.
Sent a super sticker with 49.99.
Thank you for the super sticker, Laura. That is awesome. Okay, the jury is going to be coming in. This is amazing. First of all, the defense mentioned the tenor of the note. That's the sound, the wording, the feel of the note. They have a foreman. I don't think they voted on the person who has the best communication skills or something.
Okay, please be seated, everybody. Okay, members of the jury, I've received 2 notes. One is at 6:15 will be done. Thank you. And then the other one says as follows: y'all, we have not been able to locate any of the calculations about future amounts. Witness Kirby was on Zoom and Whitney mentioned them today, and it was said that we'd have all this at deliberation. Well, if we do have it, we ain't found it in all these files. So without these witness figures, you'll be lucky if there's enough awarded to pay your gas to drive to court, or we'll be here till next Friday. So did I misread that? No. Kind of?
Kind of, says one.
Well, I mean, this is serious. I mean, if I didn't read it properly, let me know.
Correct.
Okay. Let me say a couple of things. One, you have all the evidence in this case. And so you're going to have access to everything that's there. And since we're going to be closing down for the evening, I am going to ask the clerk's office to go in and grab the evidence so we can put that in a lock room tonight. Your room's going to also be secured, but the clerk has its procedures and we need to do that. So if the clerk can go ahead and do that right now. Now, with respect to the specific request, in discussions with the attorneys, there's a possibility that we can have what's called a read back of the testimony of this witness or some portion of the testimony. Getting a read back, though, does take time. It's not any sort of instantaneous thing. We're going to see overnight if we can get that transcribed in a hurry. Can't promise, and I don't want to promise. So that could be an option for the jury. And if ultimately that is something that the jury is going to want, we can, if we're able to get that, we can give, if you give us a specific, what you're specifically looking for, then we can try to read back that portion or portions that the jury designates. So perhaps that is the way to address this specific issue. That being said, I have now been handed a sealed envelope with all of the juror numbers. I am handing it to the clerk, who's no longer here. So we'll wait till the clerk comes back and I'll have her seal this up. Let's talk about tomorrow. First, since you are going to be breaking for the evening, you cannot have any further discussions about this case amongst yourselves, even when you're going to your car. Okay, so you are finished for the evening. You can talk about other things like how wonderful Florida football is and how we're doing so well, but you cannot talk about the case. You cannot discuss the case. Do we all understand that? My instructions about not receiving any information, not seeing any media accounts continues to apply. Do you understand that? Yes. And also the whole idea of alternates no longer exists in our world. So we've got no safety net. Okay? So it's vitally important that you avoid all sorts of media or any sort of item that could possibly be an issue in this case. So do we all understand that? Yes. Now, tomorrow, I recall that we have to finish earlier. Is it 3 o'clock that we have to?
So I don't have to be in Northport until like 5:15. So
we can go to about 4? Okay. So we will. So we plan on going to 4 if the jury wishes to go till 4 tomorrow. Okay. I have a clerk back, so now let's have the clerk seal those numbers. And I just want to confirm with the members of the jury, each one of you saw that the verdict form was placed into that envelope. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Let's talk about what time we're going to start. I want to try to give the jury as much time as possible, but I also recognize that you have families and obligations in the morning. So let me throw out, could we start at 8:15? Or is that too early for you all? No,
I drop my daughter off at the earliest I can.
Well, you don't need to tell us where you drop it off.
I can be here probably a little bit after 8:10.
Okay.
Like in the parking lot.
Okay, well, so why don't you all try to be in the parking lot by 8:10 in the morning. I'm going to ask the lawyers to be here at 8:15 because by the time you come in, we're not going to have a lot of things to do outside your presence, so we're not going to have those, oh, be here at 9 o'clock and we start at 9:30. It's not going to be like that. But this is also very critical. when you come tomorrow and you're, riding with the sheriff and you are going in the back room, you cannot start deliberating. You can't start talking. We will bring you out. We're going to give you back the verdict form, and then might have some more information about the readback issue. Okay, so put a pause. No discussion about this case. Okay. Anything else I need to instruct the jury before we let them go for the evening?
Don't believe so, Your Honor. No,
okay. Thank you for your service tonight. We will see you tomorrow if you can be at 8:10, and then we'll start as soon as you all come on over. Okay.
All rise. Your seconds tape.
Okay, well, while they're leaving here, we're going to keep listening for the audio just for a minute, see if there's anything else. I don't think there is. I think they're pretty much done for the day. Let's give it just a minute.
Presidents, I'm filing the other note. Anything else we need to address before we adjourn?
Not by the plaintiff.
Just the court reporter, Judge.
Okay. 8:15 tomorrow morning is when we're going to start. 8:15. We are in recess. 8:15.
All right, and they just cut off the Zoom feed as well. So that is done. 8:15 is our start time. Well, 8 o'clock is our start time. Amy L. 2022, welcome to the gallery. Thank you very much. Great to have you here as a new member. Help yourself to the emojis. We are going to have a break. So nothing is going to happen between now and tomorrow morning, 8:15. That's it. No sanctions were discussed. No sanctions have been discussed. Can you read the note again? I did not write down the note. Basically, it started out with a y'all, and it said we can't find the facts and figures that you guys promised you were going to give us. And I remember that same thing. I remember in the testimony that I believe the plaintiff said, and you guys are going to have all this back there with you. Don't worry about taking notes. Well, you'll have all this, and so they didn't, and now they don't have it. So it's bad. So I have to tell Mrs. R.A. that we have an early start in the morning. Yeah, you want to turn?
Yeah. Okay, I can't type this fast, so I'm just going to use the mic. Here's my take on the juror's question. I think that, and the reason that I feel this way is that I just recently had this happen where somebody came into my house and they had a completely different morning than I had. And so I was knee deep in homeschooling and math and all that stuff. And they came in and they were frazzled doing other things. And our energy was so different that it took a second to get the two of us on the same page, to say one of us had to calm down and the other had to up the energy. And I feel like that's just what happened right there with the jury, that we're all very solemn and kind of tense and freaking out a little bit. And they're back there joking around. And so when that note came forward, it just felt jarring to feel like, whoa, that's completely inappropriate. But it probably was, it was in line with the energy that was going on back there. I don't think it was intended to be rude, but jumping into our really tense place, it felt kind of rude.
Yeah, the language, considering, I realize, I'm trying to think back to some of the questions from the jury, and I don't think we heard in many or at all of the questions from the jury that sort of tone that we've heard on this from the foreman. But this is crazy. So first of all, I'm surprised. It looks like defense is going for the readback. They're going to allow that. It also, I think you're right. The jury has sort of told us what their verdict is here, because the only way you get to needing to figure out the money is by finding that the plaintiff is right and the defense is liable. So I think they have literally played their hand a little bit that way, and we see that we're at least in this regard, when it comes to Maya and future earnings capacity, that they've sided with the plaintiff on that one. So that's what we can expect tomorrow. Let's see. Little levity. We're all tired. Can jurors take notes during the readback? They should be able to. Legal Spaniel, I think they definitely should be able to. It should be treated just like when they're normally in court. Can you explain the gas comment? TC, they basically said, y'all, if you guys can't help us find this form, which you said we were going to have, which we don't have, you're going to be lucky if you have enough money to pay for gas, because we can't figure it out. We'll give you $1. And that's not the right thing to do. If the jury finds that that the defendant, the hospital, is liable and there are damages, okay, then they're supposed to find those damages. And if there are punitive damages, when I'm not sure if they're to that point to do this, they should use a calculation and show their work, basically how they got there. They shouldn't say, well, we couldn't figure it out, so we didn't give you any. That's wrong. So I think we'll be here till Friday was the actual threat. Let's see. Love it. So Silver Ice. They're frustrated with the tech and the docs not being easy to find. Yeah, they probably were expecting to just crack down and get to work, and then having things not work was frustrating. Corey Hill says, I would think they are entertaining damages. Entertaining. Yes. Just the thought has crossed their mind briefly, for sure. I think it's going to be a split verdict on the counts, says Creed. Curious, Creed, what split do you think it'll be? Who do you think is going to be? I mean, if we were to take a poll, I don't have enough space in a poll to put all the counts, but what's the first one that would go out? What's the first one? Would it be the fraudulent billing? Would that be the first one that drops off? Would it be the intentional infliction of emotional distress? Negligent medical? I think battery is one of the strongest. This is one of the strongest charges there. It's the only one they have a photograph of it happening, right? They literally have evidence of it happening right then and there, as well as a confession. Now, not a confession, but a stipulation from the defense saying they agree that it occurred. That they don't call it battery. They say that it was a necessary medical procedure or a treatment procedure. But I think that's one of the strongest ones in this case. False imprisonment, I think that's also very solid, especially relating not just to the first couple days before the court order was entered, before the hospital had legal authority to shelter Maya. I think they've got a strong case there. So I think 1 and 2 are in for sure. Interesting. Let's see. Wrongful death. You think that one's out? That's the big one. That's the really big one. Jules is on the phone. This is what we're waiting for, guys. Hold on just one second.
Jules.
Hello, Jules. Hello, Jules.
Hey, are you have you been watching this? I don't even know.
Yes. Yes, we didn't watch the first question, but we came back. We came back and heard the last couple questions, as well as the judge ended for the day.
Okay, well, there's a lot of buzz going on, and in my personal opinion, which means crap, but this jury is itching to write a check.
Yeah.
That's my take on it. Because in the first question, the first time around, it was they couldn't get into they were having a difficult time navigating the laptop with the evidence that was left for them. And the second question was, and where do we find, I keep forgetting her name, but the economic, the economist.
We did the math. Point us to the math page.
Yeah.
Jules,
right.
Jules.
And that was the first time. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're good. We're talking over each other. I apologize. It's my fault. Who is the foreperson? Are you able to tell who the foreperson is?
Well, the first time they came in, I thought it was juror number 1. But then the second time they came in, now I think it's, I'm going to refer to him as Mr. Clean. I don't know what his juror number is, and I don't have my pad because I'm driving. He would have been my juror number 10. So my juror number 7 is who I thought was the foreperson the first time. But the second time they entered the courtroom, the demeanor seemed to have changed, and so now I think it's the other gentleman. But I could be wrong. But I will say this: You know how I complained during this entire trial about juror number 8 taking very little notes and not asking questions?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she is so perky now.
Whoa.
She's very animated, very animated. Absolutely. Both times in, laughing, with the judge. And, did you hear them speaking about, having to leave early tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
That was her.
Okay. So who is the one that said, when the judge said, did I read this correctly, when he read back the last note, the one that starts with y'all, who was it that responded and said, no, you didn't read it correctly, or not exactly?
That would have been, oh God, let me think. He was 11. She was, I think she was 5. I think she was my 5.
Okay.
If I wasn't driving, I would be able to tell you exactly, but I know who it is. But yeah, it was, and that's the thing. I'm going to tell you guys something. Hunter was like a lion, okay, staring at these jurors. And I inadvertently overheard a conversation in the hall before all of this happened. So when they came in the second time, he had his eyes on who I refer to as my juror number 7, that we really now know is 1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? He had his eyes peeled on him. And when the judge read that question and said, did I read that right? And she at first said, no, but then yes. Hunter, was startled by that because the way I took it, I think he thought that the snarkiness came from 1.
Wow.
And it didn't.
Huh.
It didn't. Yeah.
Crazy. So we have a readback that's going to be happening tomorrow for the jury. If they can, somebody is going to be working all through the night getting that transcribed and ready to be read. After that,
and that is coming out of Greg Anderson's pocket, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. That's not cheap.
No, it's not. Especially at this time of the night.
Yeah.
They're going to be working on this all night.
And then Ms. Lawrence is going to be reading, right?
Yes. Poor thing. I feel so bad for her. I feel really bad for her. I was talking to her after court today, and I said, well, how did it feel yesterday? And she was like, she was a bundle of nerves because, not only is it her first case as quote unquote officially being an attorney, but it's on all over the world. It's being broadcast. So, she was.
Jules, do you know if the 6 jurors who were deliberating, were all of them emotional when Mr. Whitney sort of finished his portion of the closing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Even the ones that got dismissed were. Yes.
Okay.
They were in cheers. And what do you call it? The gentleman that I refer to as Mr. Clean, because if you saw him, you would know why I say that.
I'm guessing it's because he has a full head of hair.
Yeah, and he was bawling his eyes out. But you know what? During trial, he was too. So, they all were pretty much very emotional. I mean, even during trial. But Nick Whitney reduced every single one, all 11 of those jurors that were sitting there, to tears.
including myself. I could not, I couldn't control, I kept my head down because I didn't want, I didn't want anybody to see my ugly cry. You know, I mean, it was quite emotional. And, yeah. So I don't know if they're running on emotions. They've had 9 weeks of this, 7 of which I do believe for a full 7 weeks of testimony. These people, with the exception of one, was copious note takers.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything that they didn't write down. I mean, they were writing things down even when the judge said, well, you know, you could read along. This is going to go back and, you know, in the deliberation room with you. And they still wrote stuff down about what they knew, you know, like any emails and, you know, what documents, whatever. You know, the judge would always say, this'll go back in the jury room with you. And as they're reading the stuff, they were still writing notes. So I think they went through jury instructions really fast.
Yeah. They must have. We've got basically just over 4 hours of deliberation time in, and now they're going to start again tomorrow morning. After this, I would be surprised. I would not be surprised if we have a verdict by noon. It just.
I think so.
It's going to be maybe tomorrow's going to be the day. So that would be 8 hours of deliberation.
The buzz in the courtroom tonight. You know, the cake lady was sitting next to me, and she's like, well, they said 6:15, and I said, yeah, that means they're done. They want to be done. She goes, are you sure there's not a verdict? And I was like, every trial that I have either watched or have been in the courtroom has come back where they give a note saying, we've reached a verdict. That's not what that note said. I said, so no. And then while they were kibitzing back and forth, the buzz started to be that they have something to say.
Yeah.
And when the bailiff came in, when the judge told him to go get them, and he comes back like so fast.
And the jury has another note for him.
Yeah. They had a piece of paper, and instead of having the envelope that has the verdict form in it, he's got a piece of paper, and that's when I started to be like, oh my God, I'm wrong. This could be it. But it wasn't. But again, they made it really clear, even in that second note, which is actually, well, really the third note when you think about it. Technically, it's a third note. They want to know how to calculate the money. That's what I got out of it, Scott. What did you get out of it?
Yeah, I think they gave away where they are position-wise on the verdict, that they're at the money stage, which they can only reach if they have found for the plaintiff. So, Jules, I'm going to let you end your day. I know you're over on TikTok. You probably have something to do tonight over there. You've got a lot of people who are dying for a scoop.
I'm live. Yeah, you can tell everybody. Give me, let's see, it's 10 to 7. Tell, if you would, if it's okay, if you don't mind, to let them know that I will go live at 8 o'clock on TikTok.
All right. You just did?
Oh, sorry.
Sounds great.
And if something happens in the morning, how do you want to work this, Scott?
What you did before, a little call if you're able, or text message, that would be great. If you get a word, and then we'll be going live tomorrow anyway, so we'll be live and.
Okay, great.
We'll watch it together.
Okay.
Alrighty?
Okay, great.
Thank you so much,
Everybody
Jules.
have a good night.
Yep, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
I'm excited. Jules, when she goes live on TikTok, she'll be able to answer questions over there a little bit better. She does a great work. I realize there's some people in there who are saying, Jules this is coming from one vantage point. Yes, it is. Jules has made friends with people on the plaintiff side. We're not trying to say that she is a neutral party doing this. A lot like you have a court observer. Court observers are hired typically by the plaintiff to watch the court from their perspective and do things. Jules is watching this and doing a great job observing things. And yes, it comes from that standpoint that she's been very open and clear with of where she stands on the case. So we appreciate her doing that. If there was somebody who wanted to give another perspective from the other side of the aisle, we'd love to have that as well. If there's somebody in the court that'd like to do that. Right now, we don't have that contact, but I appreciate Jules doing this. She is very observant and gets a whole bunch of very interesting things for us. So thank you very much, Jules. All right, let's see. And she owns it. Yes, Jen, she does. And she's doing it for free. I mean, I can find no fault with her on that. She isn't portrayed to be anything that she's not. So, all right, there's a couple. When is Rob back? Rob is going to be back tomorrow. He's traveling right now. He did come in a little bit in chat during the previous live stream and said he's trying to catch up while he's traveling. So he's going to be catching up tomorrow. He might be reporting on a verdict, depending on how things go down. So that's going to be really exciting. I know tonight, Kurt. I think Kurt is planning. Let me just double check. I'll see if I can portal us over to Kurt tonight. I think he has a wrap up. If you'd like some more commentary and review over what happened today, let's see. Civil law. If I can get it to work. Let's see. All right, there it is. It looks like it's starting in half an hour. We're going to go ahead and save that for just a second. So our redirect after this is going to go to Kurt's channel if you want to watch that. It'll be a different vantage point, different than mine a little bit. Obviously, Kurt does things a little differently than I do, sees things sometimes a little differently than I do, and I think that's great. I think that provides a variety and it helps us form our opinions a little bit better. So I appreciate that. We'll do a redirect to Kurt's channel, and thank you, Kurt. He's popped in chat several times and provided a little bit of commentary as well. Rob has a trial tomorrow. Oh, man. Tough. He has trial Wednesday. Maybe, I don't know. It depends what happens in trial. I thought he said he was going to try to do something tomorrow night, but we'll watch for that. Okay, so what we're going to do tomorrow, we're going to start. Oh, well, first Mrs. RA is going to talk. We can't wrap up without her giving her piece.
Okay, I have two thoughts. One's really mild and one I hope doesn't kick a bee's nest. But the first one is that I'm just really glad they didn't finish tonight because I feel like this is such an important case and it has so many aspects to it that are so heavily impactful for so many people that I would feel a little bit like things did not have time to get processed if they did it that fast. I mean, even if they voted the way that I wanted them to vote, I would still feel like, oh man, did you think about that long enough? I just feel like some things take a little bit of time to be able to process all the way through. And then, okay, so here's for the hornet's nest kicking. I've been really thinking a lot about bias and whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I went and I looked it up in the dictionary, and it said that bias is formed when you gain education. That bias is not a bad thing. It is the education and the experience that we gain throughout this life that creates the bias in us. We are actually better when we're biased because we are more educated to have a better opinion on whatever the subject is. So I don't know if that's even a good or a bad thing for anybody, but I just feel like that word gets a lot of flack, that the idea is you're biased, you must be bad. But I think actually all of us have our biases, and that's part of being a jury of your peers. It's part of having conversations. It's part of having a well-rounded discussion, is that we're able to say, I'm not biased. I guess if your definition is I am biased, meaning I am absolutely refusing to hear anything else, that would be bad. But the dictionary definition says that it is what you get when you gain education in an area. It increases your bias because now you have more knowledge to draw from. So I see it as a really good thing, and I am biased.
There you go. I think the important thing is to not confuse bias with impartiality. You can have personal experience, you can have knowledge, you can have those life experiences that make you the way you are and make you think the way you do. But in order to be fair on a jury, to be able to say I can set aside my biases, or I can look at something in a new light and consider all evidence and be impartial, and be able to do this. Marcia, a verdict was not reached tonight. The jury has been sent home for the day. They're going to start again bright and early in the morning, so we're going to start at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning right here on the channel. I anticipate, first of all, that we're going to have the hard work of transcribing or getting a read through done ready in the morning. They're going to do whatever it takes to get that done tonight, and it will be ready. We're going to hear that with the jury. We're going to see them. They're going to leave. We're going to hear the judge. They're going to start deliberating. I think we'll probably either have a question or B, a verdict within just a couple hours of them going back to deliberate again. So that's where we are. I love Mrs. Ari as well. Do we want to take a couple phone calls, or do we want to wrap up? We just have a couple minutes. Let's see. People are asking questions about the jury numbering. What happened was Jules sort of arbitrarily chose numbers for the seats based on what she could observe in court. So where people were sitting, she assigned a number to each one of those. Those numbers are the reverse number order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The court numbered them starting from the other side. So the court has a different set of numbers, and then there's a third set of numbers, which is the actual juror number when they were first received their jury summons and called to court and answered questions. That's another set of numbers that they have. And so we've got these three sets of numbers. One is 7, which is also, it gets a little confusing. One is not number 181, though. Eventually, all this will make sense. This person's been trying to call several times. Let's see who's on the phone here really quickly.
Visionary Appraisal, LLC.
Nothing like getting a little shout out for your company. Visionary Appraisal, LLC. How are you doing?
No, I didn't mean that. I'm still just Crystal K.
Hey, Crystal K.
Hey.
We're about to go to Kurt's channel because he's going to start in half an hour. But what's on your mind?
I just wanted to say that, that's I've been wondering the whole time how Jules was numbering them, because it did not match up at all with what I saw.
Yeah, it's...
So now I know it was backwards. And I just wanted to say, as a law student, and I'm what they call an untraditional law student, because I'm in my 40s.
Oh, good. If I start doing that, I'll be also the same.
Oh, and it's way harder than you ever think. I was in a master's program and had a 4.0. I'm struggling with a 3.0 in law school.
Oh man.
But I'm very happy. It seems like the jury is leaning towards Maya, and I lost all of my thoughts. But I did want to say Jules looks so much like my mom. It's ridiculous, and I did notice her when we were in court, and she obviously has a lot of relationships with the plaintiff side, and she does great observation. But it was in my view, as I tried to kind of look at it as a student, she is a little bit skewed. Right. But I absolutely am for Maya's side. Is
there anything you saw differently that maybe you want to share a perspective that maybe you interpreted, say, the note differently or a juror's behavior differently?
Yeah. Well, it was strange because I was trying to just analyze what the numbers she was saying with what I saw the couple times I was there, and it didn't match. And it didn't match genders, and I was trying to figure out how she numbered them, but
number one, who I always called number one, is the guy who was excessively note-taking. And I'm happy to hear that that's one of the people that the defense wanted out. He's a little guy, probably in his 60s or 70s, white hair, but he was just feverishly taking notes. And I don't know who this number 8 or whoever, it might be the lip gloss lady when I called you before and I told you someone was putting on lip gloss. It might have been her who wasn't taking notes. But obviously with this situation, as early as it is, it really feels like they're going for the plaintiff's side. And I just wanted to say,
it seems they're leaning that way. Crystal, thank you so much. As another
Yes,
court observer, I
thank you.
appreciate you calling in and giving another perspective there.
absolutely. And if you do decide to follow Petito, that's another Sarasota case. So,
What's the date on that one? Do we have a?
I don't know. I just was awarded an academic scholarship. For law school.
Congratulations.
Yes. So I'm kind of focused on that, and this has been distracting me.
Tell them it's like study abroad, an equivalent of that.
Right? Right. I told you some of my classmates wanted to send that to my academic advisor the last call when I did and get me extra credit. That didn't work, but
I'd sign a note if it had any weight at all. I would sign a note. Let's
do it.
Crystal, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
We'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right. Bye. Appreciate Crystal calling in another vantage point from the courtroom. Appreciate that, and that's exciting. In her in the prime of her life, going back to school and studying law. That is awesome. That is really cool. I hope she does really well. And 3.0, I would not complain about that at all. Let's see. We're going to be sending everyone over to Kurt here in just a second. I've got enough time for one or two more phone calls.
From Ruby.
Hey, Ruby. This is Recovery Addict. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to, of course, first of all, thank you for all you're doing. I so much appreciate it. It's, and for everybody in the chat, too. I wanted to piggyback off of what Mrs. R.A. said. Because I've been thinking about it. I thought about it all weekend long, and it's kind of tangential to the case, but it has to do with bias in healthcare. And I told you last time that I've been a long-time nurse in ICUs and in the PACU, the recovery room, where we do a lot of pain management. And the thing that's been plaguing me is that I saw so many times in healthcare where people's biases were negatively affecting patient care. And the contrast, in this case, I'm looking at it and, Maya looks like a little angel. She's the perfect little blonde girl, right? Mm-hmm. She looks like a cartoon with big eyes and blonde hair and everything else. And, I was treating patients who were, we had prisoners that would get transferred for medical care from prison.
And definitely a different look to them than, compared to Maya.
But the guards would come, the guards would be at the bedside with these guys in handcuffs, and they would say, as I'm taking care of them, they'd say, as if I'm being too nice or too attentive to them, they'd say, you don't know what that guy did. And I'd say, and I don't want to know because that's not my job, okay? I'm here to provide care for people. And if we had people that came in who were, this is the other thing, people who were addicts, who were what they've been accusing, Maya of being a drug addict, well, they just got hit by a car. They still need their pain treated. I don't care whether they're an addict. There are so many times that biases in healthcare negatively affect patients, whether they're a chronic pain patient or, they don't look the way you expect them to look. They're not engendering your sympathy for whatever bias you have. And that it has just that's a really big problem in healthcare, and I just wanted to put it out there too. There are people. The other thing too, oh, Maya's faking it. She's crazy. Her mother's crazy. Whatever. Yeah. Well, people who have mental issues come into hospitals too, and that doesn't mean that they get treated any less fairly. And if Maya can't get good care in a hospital, it's really bad. Yeah. It's really bad. So anyway, that's all I wanted to put out there.
I appreciate that. Thank you for making the call. Good to connect with you again tonight. We'll see you.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, I think we've got time for one more.
Call from Alon 21.
Somebody 21. This is Recovery Addict. How are you doing?
Good. Sorry, Alon 21. I just used my username.
Alon 21. Okay. I didn't quite hear it. It just crackled in my ear. So what's on your mind tonight?
So I've done research, like academic peer review stuff on wrongful convictions and cognitive bias. So I thought I could just lend a bit of info there.
Oh, we have an expert on the phone. That's
so, okay. I don't know about expert.
Can you give us the summary? We're going to wrap up here in just a minute, but if you can give us a summary of basically what would like to talk about the bias, that would be great.
The TLDR is that it really only becomes a problem when you can't let go of it. We tend to use bias in a way that means being stuck in it, but I agree with Mrs. R.A. on that it is a thing, you can recognize it. But where it shows up a lot in this case is actually more on forming an opinion and then searching for evidence that fits that opinion. And I don't necessarily see Jules or other people commenting on this case doing that, because I think everybody's been recognizing the opposite side or facts that go to the opposite side.
So to follow that example, there was some testimony from a witness at one point where I'm not sure, was it Sally Smith or Kathy Beatty? One of them was, I think it was Sally Smith, said that my job is to find the abuse, right?
That I saw that, and I had people mention that to me, and that I had a problem with, because it suggests that if you're looking for it, that's what you're going to find.
Right. All right. I wish I could say that I know that I can be completely impartial and can set aside my bias. I'm not that good. I'm not that.
I don't think anybody is.
I'm not able to. I wish I could look at a situation completely impartially and weigh it just on face value and the facts and everything. But I appreciate that. I think Mrs. R.A. will love the fact that you seconded her motion. And so
yeah, that's really the best you can do is just recognize the bias and weight your opinions accordingly.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that. We're going to wrap things up on that. That's a great way to end the evening, and we're going to start again tomorrow morning. Thank you. Have yourself a great evening, and we'll maybe talk again.
You too.
All right. We'll see you. Bye. All right. So we're gonna wrap things up. We are gonna start sending people over towards Kirk's live stream. I think the chat's already opened there. You'll have a few minutes of a break before that begins, and breaks are important, guys. You need to take breaks. I need to start taking breaks as well. I think we're going to start bright and early in the morning. Let's see, phone line's now closed. Yes, our apologies. My apologies. The phone line, Kurt says he's ready to go. All right, we're gonna wrap things up and send things over that way. I will say this. This is what I think it's the best place to watch true crime on the internet, and it is not because of me, and it's not because of the mods. The mods are incredible, and I love them for what they do. But it's because of this community and the openness and the willingness to share and the respectful nature you have towards each other. I want to thank you all for that and making that possible. A year ago, I wouldn't have thought this was possible to find a community like this anywhere, let alone on the internet. And this community has built that. And thank you so much for that. I appreciate all that. Tonight, when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe till we go live again. It will be at 8 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. It'll start off with a read-through, I think, for the jury, readback, I guess, and then maybe jury questions and maybe even a verdict. So we are in verdict watch in the Maya trial. I think we're approaching the end of the tunnel, and I think tomorrow just might be our day. So thank you all. We're going to pop over to Kurt's channel. Please, when you land there, hit the thumbs up there. Say some nice things about his channel, and give it a listen. And drop a question or something in chat. Thanks to all the great professionals out there who put themselves on the line and put their opinion out there and help us become more educated in the process. So thank you, Kurt. Look forward to seeing you on the live stream tonight. You guys be good to each other. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. Have a good one. Bye.